Welcome back to the channel, folks, and to another battle report. We've got another face-to-face game. Again, I'm glad to say Peter's come out for a game. And I'm also glad to say that there's no Soviets in this game. I mean, that's something that I've been wanting to say for quite a while, but I've been relying on my own collection to a large extent for the Allied side. But Peter's bringing his Yanks. So here is my German list. One way of getting lots of stuff in your German list and still having good quality troops is obviously going down the Panzer Grenadier route, where you can buy lots of additional like half-track platoons. So it's quite a big looking list. Everything on screen there, for instance, is part of the core formation. And then that's support. So it's a big formation orientated split, if you see what I mean. So let's look at the force. It's company HQ with a half track, 2 platoons with 4 half tracks each. The only difference between the platoons is one of them has a Panzer Schreck added, and that's going to be in that half track. You can see I've actually got a Schreck modelled in there, and there's a command figure modelled in there, and that's the same for the other platoon. They've got a command figure, so we can track on the table what's in what. Then another combat unit is 3 Panzer 470s, and you've got 4 of the cannons, the Stummels, and 4 medium mortars, 2 Midwell, 1 sneaking in the back, because I've got so many of these half-tracks, guys. Couldn't believe how many half-tracks I've got, but I've still only got 2 late war mortar half-tracks. And then in support, the Wesps with an observer, which is pretty much standard these days, and 3 Panzer IVs. So it's not heavy on tanks, it's not heavy on anti-tank either. There's no like static anti-tank guns, and there's not like Schrecks everywhere. So I'm not sure how it will play. My first game really using Germans for a long time, but we'll give it a go. We'll see what Peter is going to bring to the fight, and we'll see if it's a good matchup or not.
What I've got is HQ, and I've got 2 platoons of 75 Shermans there. I've got a wee red one there and yellow ones here, and then I've got a platoon of 76s, 5 76s. I've got 4 Sherman 105s, and that's my formation. Support, I've got an infantry platoon with 1 bazooka and 4 Stuarts. So that's a total. They're all trained, so they're all hitting a 3 up.
So they're what is it, aggressive, confident, trained?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Tell you what, that's the first American force I've ever seen with just 1 bazooka. So lots and lots of tanks, so we'll see.
They'll brew up quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, but you know, you might get in the side of my weak sides and do a bit of damage, but let's see.
Yes.
Forgot to mention Lafayette Pool. Have a read of the card, folks. It's all about manoeuvrability with this guy, it seems, and he'll be adding a bit of mobile punch to the Yanks. So the mission is Dust Up. This mission has got simple rules, but you know, one of those complicated deployment zones. You will roll a dice to see who's going to be the attacker. The attacker will choose a zone to deploy in, a corner. Each player's reserves, then the other player will play in the opposite corner, deploy in the opposite corner, and each player's reserves will come on to the side, to the flank of wherever they've deployed. And then, this is the tricky bit, you've got this 12-inch disc sort of cut out the centre of the table where you cannot deploy or place objectives. So you've got like these sort of like cut out boxes, and then a smaller cut out boxes where the objectives go. But it's quite important to note there, guys, that objectives can go right up to the edge of your deployment zone, so that can present real challenges for your defence and opportunities for attack. For instance, reserves can come on and be right onto an objective, or come across right onto an objective, so it could be quite a challenging game in that respect. The special rules are quite simple. It's meeting engagement and delayed reserves for both sides. Now, once you've deployed here, you're going to roll a dice and the highest player is going to be the attacker, which means they're going to go first. And the meeting engagement rule means that they're not going to be able to fire bombardments. They're going to do all the shooting at the moving rate of fire, and they can't have planes. So it can be, there might be an opportunity that presents itself for when you go first in this mission, but there may be many opportunities you cannot take advantage of because of the meeting engagement rule. So it's quite an interesting little effect that you're going to have to consider if you are going to be the attacker. So there you go, folks. Dust up. Right, folks, so the mission we rolled was dust up. We both decided to go the attacker, and looking at the list that we've got, that's probably quite a reasonable choice to make. So I rolled off to be the attacker, so I chose this area to deploy. You can see it's got a hell of a lot of cross checks, to be honest. Quite a lot of dead terrain because of those woods. There's a few shell craters kicking about. There's a tree. Lots of close terrain anyway. And then you can see over here for Peter's deployment zone, it's a bit more open. You can see there's a wood train station with a wall around it. That wall, that kind of, there's a cross check right across there. Hell in the wood, quite handy for hiding behind a wee factory area. And so, in terms of objectives, I placed one in here in my deployment zone, and Peter's placed one there, closest to where his reserves come on, and it kind of went the same. He's got one over there, and then I placed mine there, closest to where the reserves come on. So, Peter, what have you got on the table and what's in reserve?
So what I've got in the table is I've got 2 platoons of 75 centimetres Shermans, my 4 105s, artillery Shermans, and my infantry platoon covering that objective. In reserve, I've got a platoon of 5 76 Shermans, my HQ of 2 75 Shermans, and 4 Stuart tanks.
I can see those Stuarts charging down on my infantry. So I've deployed as such. I've got Panzer Grenadier platoon with a Shrek, another Panzer Grenadier platoon. Maybe ones don't have the Shrek. Everything's got Fausts, including the company commander in a position to observe. Then I've got 3 Panzer IIIs and 3 Wesps. And then in reserve, I've got my observer, because I couldn't get him on. But the company commander will have to cover that task. And the Panzer 470s, the mortar half-tracks, the Stummel half-tracks. And at the moment I don't have any half-tracks on the table for my infantry. There's not a lot of space in there, and I reckon they would probably get in the way, but I can bring them forward. So we're going to be rolling off to see who goes first, so I might as well get that on camera. The highest goes first. Well, it's going to be one of those games then. To be honest, going first is not a great thing in this because you don't get your bombardment or anything. You'll be able to start ranging in on me straight away. So that one, actually, that's the time we maybe want to roll a one, but we'll see. German turn 1. Well, as I'm going first, I can't do bombardments. And the only real targets that are really visible to me is maybe one, if I moved, is 105mm or some infantry. So that's my turn over, folks. I'm not going to do anything. Very, very boring. Apologies to all, but this mission can be a bit like that as you're building up your forces. So over to Peter for his turn 1.
Okay, I've moved this platoon into the wood there, awaiting some reserves coming on the other side of the table. This platoon moved up to here. I tried to follow me but failed, so that's where they got to. And the 105s tried to range in on the Panzerschreck in the church, but failed.
German turn 2. So, no reserves yet, folks, you understand, so I don't have a lot on the table. I could have tried to move these guys to get shots on the Shermans, but a blitz wasn't much of an option because of all the restricted space. I couldn't get myself close enough to this tree line, and I could have then done a tactical, but I'd only got 3 dice. If I was lucky, I'd maybe kill 2 of that platoon and the rest could shoot around and get me short range, so I didn't bother. I did try to range in with my Wesps on a very juicy target here. Rolled a 1, a 1 and a 2. So after Peter's ranging in attempts last turn, I don't know if artillery's going to do anything in this game. It's looking pretty grim. So over to Peter for his turn 2.
Okay, this turn the only movement I had was I managed to blitz this platoon onto the hill here. They all shot at this Panzer Grenadier platoon. They did no damage.
2 hits, but I got 2 saves.
Yes, 2 saves. And then the 105s did manage to range in on the church first time, but quite a lot of teams under the template, but I only managed to hit the Panzerschreck and thankfully managed to kill him. So that was good.
First blood to the Yanks. First reserves. No! German turn 3. So in terms of motivation, these guys unpinned, but I've pulled most of them back. I've left a couple up, pulled the rest back into the church. So they're kind of spread out. These guys are kind of like that at the moment, which is a bit of a mess. The tanks have edged up a bit, but they've not shown themselves past that line of trees. The artillery did range in this turn on the second attempt, needing 4s out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential guys, only got 1 hit, and he saved. So still not a lot from me, so over to Peter for his turn 3. Peter's reserve dice. No. Definitely a slow burner, folks.
Okay, that move managed to unpin the infantry. No movement over here, they're just going to stay and wait. I tried to blitz with this platoon to try and get a bit closer to the infantry, but failed the blitz, so they're just going to stay where they are. The 105s did a repeat bombardment on the 2 teams that were under it. I hit 1, but failed to make they failed their save, but I failed to make the firepower. So it's just pinning them again.
And no reserve for you this time.
No reserve for me, no. Sorry.
Right. Over to me then with 2 dice for reserves this turn. Dice for reserves. Damn it. German turn 4. So you've seen there no reserves coming on, folks. The infantry over here unpinned. I blitzed with my tanks so I could get some shots on the hill. They're gone to ground though, so I was needing 6s, but I thought I'm going to give it a go, got to get something happening here, and I got a 5, everything else was a 2 or a 1. And then shooting a scout on a 3 up, I rolled a 2, so they're sitting there. So much for using sort of classic German tactics. But this is where it was just a bit brutal. This is nuts. I managed to, well, I was ranged in already. I don't know if anybody actually made their save. I don't think, nobody made their save. And I passed every firepower, which was absolutely bananas. They're a big platoon, so there's still a lot of them left, but they're kind of thinned out around the objective now, because that's 5 died. It was 6 potential hits. So Peter will have 2 dice for reserves. We'll see how he goes in his turn and if he can punish my Panzer IVs. Peter's reserves. Oh well. This came on then. An avalanche of tanks, here they come.
Okay, that turn I failed to unpin this infantry platoon that was decimated by the artillery. However, I did manage to get 2 reserves on. So I brought on my 76 platoon and my HQ platoon. So they moved up with the intention of shooting some of the Panzer IVs, and my HQ are moving over this way to help with the guys on the right flank. Shooting, the 76 is fired at the Panzer IVs. The only one that hit was Lafayette Pool, and he managed to destroy one of the Panzer IVs. And then this platoon on the hill shot again at the Panzer IVs and managed to kill one. And then my 105s did another repeat bombardment on the church and managed to kill 2 infantry platoons and managed to bail another Panzer IV. So that was quite for the Americans. That was quite a good turn.
That was my turn to fail every save. Right, let's see what I can do, guys. But that's bad news. 3 dice for reserves. 1. German turn 5s. 5. So I've got 1 reserve, and I've brought them on over here. In terms of motivation, infantry unpinned, he remounted and passed his last stand. In terms of shooting, he tried a couple of shots, needing 5s. Not much, just 5s over here, and he missed, but he did at least shoot and scoot out of line of sight behind the trees and within command distance of the company commander for a reroll. The Panzer IV 70s with 3 shots managed to kill 1. One Sherman. I nearly called it a T-34. I'm used to playing so many Soviet games. And then the West ranged in over here. They managed to get ranged in first time and get all 5 76s, but he needed a 1 or a 2 for me to do anything, and he didn't roll any. So they ranged in, but I reckon he's probably going to move off there anyway. So over to Peter for his turn 5 and more reserves.
Okay, that move failed to unpin the infantry, but I managed to get the HQ over there, so hopefully next move they will unpin. I got my last reserves, which are my Stuarts. They've just come on and they've come up and hidden behind that wood just now. Movement, I moved the 75 Shermans away from the big tank hunters there. So I dashed them over here. The 76s moved from the ranged in marker over towards the church. They opened fire with their machine guns on the HQ in the church steeple. I got 4 hits, but failed to do any damage. So that wasn't so good. My 105s, I tried to range in on the big tank hunters, and I did in the second attempt, but failed to get any hits. And that was my turn 4. Over here. Shermans, I thought the Shermans were better out of the wood, but 2 of them got stuck. So what they're trying to do is make sure that Frank's big tank hunters don't move too much towards the
And you did try to get some smoke, direct smoke on them as well.
I've had a couple of attempts at direct smoke, but failed, but missed.
There you go. So I will at least get some reserves, folks, but it's not much still to come on. 4 dice for reserves. There you go, they're all coming on, such as they are. German turn 6. So got 2 reserves on there. I've still got 1 to come on, the Observer. He's been very observant, someone else. In terms of motivation, the only thing to do was his last stand and he was okay. He's edged around to pointing over that way. Reserves have come on here because pretty much I need these guys to deal with tanks. I tried to follow me, but of course it didn't work. Here I just edged him back away from here just to get the platoon into command. These guys did a wee blitz so we can get some good shots on the Shermans on the flank. And then in terms of shooting, the 6 dice got 1 hit, but it got a kill. They're not really they're wearing the Americans down, but they're not like slaughtering them or anything. The artillery seems to be the only unit that's doing anything, the Wesps. They ranged in over here and they killed poor Lafayette. He rolled a 1 for his save. The other tanks, 3 other tanks were hit him and they all saved. So that's it, folks. I've got practically, in real terms, everything on the table now. And I think the initiative's with the Yanks, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, I failed to unpin this platoon, even with the formation commander with them, so they're still pinned. Movement. My Stuarts have come round to try and put pressure on the church. My 76 has moved up as well to try and get some shots at the church, and this 75 platoon just moved closer to the church. The 105s, I moved one of them off the hill because I thought he was maybe a target for Frank's bigger guns there, but I tried to range in over here, but I was ranging in a 5 and I failed to do it.
The other areas were too close to the advancing tanks.
And over here, this tank managed to get out the woods, thankfully, and they're just moving round to try and pin Frank's big Jagd Panzer. The Jagd Panzer 4s. Yeah. Okay. Shooting. I failed to do any damage.
There's a hell of a lot of dice.
A lot of dice. I used machine guns, and there just wasn't enough. I don't think I killed anything. I think I hit a few, but certainly no kills. Yes, so it's going to be difficult to get rid of these guys.
Maybe. We shall see. So German turn 7, I had to take my time with that. First of all, movement. They moved up to get line of sight on Shermans. These guys are just filtering into the town. He stayed, by the way, and moved up to a position to shoot. And the infantry have just kind of poured over here. Some went around the side as well. And then in terms of shooting, the mortars laid a smoke barrage to try and protect my flank. They guys fired, got 2 hits out of 3 and then 2 failed firepowers. And then over here, a Faust from somebody who's now dead tried to get him in the side and missed. 2 Faust fired from here, sorry, and got 1 hit in a bale. This guy got 1 shot, 1 hit, 1 kill, so that wasn't too bad. Here I tried an assault with the second in command and him, but they got shot to bits on the way in. Second in command didn't make it. They might have been vulnerable to an assault if I could drive them off, but I never managed to drive them away. That's really all I was hoping for. So I've got lots of guys around the objective now, but they're all very vulnerable. So we'll see if Peter can go in for the kill in the next turn or so.
Okay, that turn I did manage to unpin this platoon with the help of the formation commander, which was good. I managed to bail in 1 tank, but these 2 failed to bail back in. I moved these tanks round to try and get shots on the infantry that are attacking the objective. Over here, I tried to blitz the HQ round to try and get shots at the big tank hunters, but failed, so they just stayed where they were. This platoon blitzed and then moved up. This guy gets stuck behind the wood, so 2 get in to take potential shots. Firing, they did fire but missed. They were needing 7s. Round here, the Stuarts had a shot at the infantry in the church. I think they killed 1. One of the 76s took a shot at the Panzer IV, but only bailed him. The other one used the machine guns against the guys in the open and in the church. I don't think they did kill anything.
I think they did. I think they got 1 and they got 1.
Yes, so they moved around and they again opened up in the infantry in the open and it killed 1 or 2.
It's only the guys in the open that failed their saves.
The 105s managed to range in on the corner here, and we hit a few, but we only killed one infantry team, and that was the move. So still lots.
I've got some guys within 4,
Yeah.
and they're not having to take a test yet,
Yeah.
but they will next turn, I would imagine.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Over to me then for my desperate turn 8. German turn 8, so I managed to survive that last turn. In terms of motivations this turn, this platoon at the back didn't unpin, the ones at the front did. He didn't get back in, unfortunately, but he didn't run away, kind of fortunately. In terms of movement, the Stummels kind of swung around the back past the destroyed tanks. Infantry stayed put, that one guy outside dug in, so they at least have all got hard cover. The half tracks are just filing in here because there's nothing they can really do to contribute to the game out there. These guys did a blitz forward to try and get them all in sight of the Shermans over there. They're pointing that way now because they managed to shoot and scout as well. So in terms of shooting, they managed to knock out one. The Stummels managed to actually kill one as well. And a Faust double bailed that 76. But I suppose it comes to the motivations whether he might run away, but they've still got 2 tanks. They could wipe out all these Stummels, kill some infantry. I don't know, it's getting pretty close. So we'll see if Peter can get in for that killer blow.
Okay, so that turn I failed over here
Yeah, one of the...
It was the last stand.
The tank bailed in,
Was over here.
but it was out of command.
And they failed the last stand, so they ran away. I moved my Stuarts up here to have some shots at the Stummels. These 2 stayed here to have a shot at the Panzer IV and the Stummels as well. They didn't move. Over here, I managed to blitz and managed to get 2 up to the side. Unfortunately, they all missed. Over here, I killed one of the Stummels with this tank, and then the rest of the Stummels.
Yeah, they got gubbed.
What else happened?
Well, that fired at this guy and missed. Your artillery.
Yes, it was the artillery ranged in a repeat bombardment.
Yeah.
Managed to kill an infantry platoon.
Which has got them into bad spirits.
Yes, and double bailed this
Yeah,
guy.
and he ran away.
And he ran away. So that was good. So that was my turn. I'm running out of assets, but so is Frank.
So far, just now, I've only got 1 base of infantry, I think, maybe 2 within command distance, and they might run away next turn.
Oh, right.
See what happens. Capture this motivation. The company commander's right beside them.
Yeah.
Now, let me see, did they need to unpin? They do, so that's the unpinning. And that's the staying, thankfully, the company commander's there. Right, so they're staying, so that's something. This guy here's got a last stand, the company commander's with them, and they're okay as well. And then see if I unpin the platoon, the other infantry platoon.
Yeah.
They do. So that's gone okay for me at least. German turn 9. So in terms of motivation, unpinnings were all okay. And that was, and the last stand on the Stummel. Then in terms of movement, the guy stayed still. This infantry platoon here had moved over. Some have moved right around into those shell craters. Then in terms of shooting the West, again, 2 turns in a row they've not ranged in on these guys. 310 to range in there. Then in terms of shooting, a Stummel managed to kill a 76, which was pretty nuts. And then a Faust managed to bail the survivor, and then I got that in the assault. There was no chance of counter fire because there was 1 base going out, blocked by the surviving tank. And then over here they got 3 hits out of a potential of 6. So it was 2 kills and a bail. So I'm still holding on over here. The guys passed a motivation, I should say. But everything that's within 4 inches of that just now is on last stands. Company commanders there to try and help them out. So let's see what happens next turn, or if it's heading for a draw.
That final turn, I just had that platoon there. There were two tanks left. One was bailed out, and one was okay. I bailed the other one in, but they weren't in command, so I failed my last stand, and they ran away. So
that platoon got strung out so much through bogging checks whilst trying to always push on to get beyond the flanks.
I think they did quite well in sort of pinning that platoon. They couldn't move up here and start shooting these and expose their back.
And as well, because of the way the terrain was, I couldn't get them along the back edge of the table. There's hundreds of hedges, and they're a 5-up cross check, so they had to come around this flank. But there you go, folks. We're going to call it a draw. I've managed to hold on there. Even if I lose the platoons that are on last stands, I've got other stuff that I can move in. The mortars have moved up to move in, and my formation's still okay. Your formation's down to a couple of units, but they're safe.
They're safe, yes. So I mean, it's difficult task. Sort of, my infantry was defending my objective, so I could have maybe used them to attack the town, but it's quite difficult attacking towns with tanks because but oof.
Well, it was in the balance for a long time. Once my Panzer IV died in the first turn, that put me on the defensive. I was hoping to have them kind of duking about in and out that tree line and sort of wearing the tanks down, so I could then put an attack in against the objective, mount up my half tracks and drive off into sunset, so to speak. But it didn't happen. This list is probably not got enough stuff in it to fight dust up well, if you see what I mean, because it's 2 platoons of 3 tanks and some Panzer Grenadiers. So if it's under pressure, if it's playing against an aggressive player, I think it's always going to struggle.
Yeah, I had a lot of tanks, but because they were aggressive, they were getting hit fairly easily.
Well, it would have been if I could shoot straight. That was some pretty dodgy dice rolling on my part. At the end, I think the Stummels killed more than the Panzer 470s, or the same in about one turn. But there you go, folks. It was a draw. I know draws aren't always the best result, but that was a hard fought draw where neither of us had very much left at the end. So hopefully you enjoyed the game. Peter, thanks for coming out again.
Okay, no.
We're going to get some organised days starting this month. I know you can't make it this month, but we're going to start getting
small tournaments. I think it makes a difference actually being able to play face to face. I think it's much more fun, much more sociable.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's a very dry hobby if you're just even doing the online using the YouTube Live. It's still quite a dry, very technical kind of process, where here you just get right on with the game. And Carronade is on in September. So we're actually going to go to a war game show, folk. Imagine that. Brilliant. So anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and thanks again to all the subscribers. And if you'd like to subscribe, please hit the button to help us grow the channel and bring this content to more people who like Flames of War.
Great. Thank you very much.
Done.